Hello YouTube, this is Detroit Borg, and in this video I'm going to review the iPhone 4. Now I've had this phone for a few weeks and you've seen many videos demonstrating its features. In this video I just want to give you a general impression on how well everything has worked for me so far in the real world. Now the first thing I want to talk about is the reception issue that was well reported when the iPhone 4 was first introduced. And unfortunately the problem is real. So if you do hold the phone in your left hand, you will lose signal. And I've had many dropped calls when holding the phone this way. Now many people will say, why would you hold your phone this way? You usually hold it to your ear on your right hand and you usually hold it this way. But unfortunately it's a real problem because when I'm using the phone, I'm usually using it in the left hand and I'm typing with my right hand. So either I'm browsing the web or I'm navigating an app, so I can have dropped calls, or I will lose 3G connectivity and lose my connection to the internet. So this is a real problem. Now this was only a problem until I got a bumper case, and of course I always have a case on my iPhone to protect it. Of course the iPhone 4 bumper shipped much later, so I didn't really solve the problem until they came in about 5 days later. However, I have noticed a sizable increase in reception in areas where I normally have very poor reception, at least I did with the iPhone 3G and 3GS. So for example, my office has very poor signal reception and I can barely make calls there. But with the iPhone 4, that problem has largely been solved. So I feel I can safely say that the new antenna design on the iPhone has improved signal reception. The iPhone 4 also features upgraded specs for HSUPA and HSDPA support, so that allows for faster upload and download speed. So I've noticed improved upload and download speeds, so 3G performance is much improved with the iPhone 4. If you saw my iPad 3G versus iPhone 4 video, you saw that the iPhone 4 just smoked it. So that makes the iPhone 4 even more usable than it was before. In addition to cellular reception, I'm also seeing far better performance on the GPS and Wi-Fi antennas. So GPS accuracy has increased dramatically and is far faster to lock onto you. So GPS apps do work much better on the iPhone 4 than they did on the iPhone 3GS. You can also count on the iPhone 4 to give you better Wi-Fi range. So for example, I'm now able to hold on to my Wi-Fi network in my entire yard. That was never possible with the iPhone 3GS, iPhone 3G, iPhone, or any of my iPod touches. I have to say that gauging battery life is pretty difficult because I use the iPhone 4 differently depending on what day it is. But I can safely say that the iPhone battery performance is about 20% better than the 3GS, and I can thank that largely to the fact that I can barely run this phone down during a very heavy day, but with the iPhone 3GS I could easily run it down to 0% by the end of the day if I haven't charged it. The iPhone 4, even though I'm using it a lot more than the 3GS just because it's more usable, has much better battery performance than the 3GS. Now we can't talk about the iPhone 4 without talking about its hallmark feature, the Retina display. Now the Retina display quadruples the pixel count on the 3-inch screen, so we're up to a much higher resolution. Not only does it improve the quality of images and graphics, but it dramatically improves the readability of small text on websites. Of course, this is very important when you're reading on a very small device. When you're loading a web page that was originally designed for a large computer screen, it can be very hard to read the text, but with the resolution of the iPhone 4 Retina display, you can read the text with much less zooming and panning around. So this makes reading a lot more efficient on the iPhone 4. So I can find myself using the iPhone 4 far more for all the reading and content blogging that I consume each day. Next feature to talk about on the iPhone 4 is the high quality camera, which is a very important feature for me because I'm an amateur photographer and I like to take a lot of photos. I also to shoot a lot of video, and it's nice to not have to always carry some sort of higher quality camera with me. I no longer need to carry a flip Minnow HD, and I no longer have to carry a point and shoot. So for this feature alone, it's a huge value add. And of course it now has a flash which is quite usable. The main reasons to carry a point and shoot camera is just because it provides a flash in low light. Now the iPhone 4 can carry that with you as well. Now this is one of the best performing cameras on a phone on the market. This even outclasses many 8 megapixel cameras on Android phones, largely because the iPhone 4 uses a larger sensor. Larger pixels means more sensitive channels to capture electrons, therefore you have far better low light performance than you do with a really high resolution small 8 megapixel sensor on many other phones. Of course, there's also the new FaceTime camera, or VGA camera, on the front. Now I have to say I don't use FaceTime a lot. I do know people with the iPhone 4, but most of the time we're traveling out and about and we're not in contact with a Wi-Fi hotspot, so this makes it far less useful. The camera is mostly useful to me because it allows me to video record myself while seeing myself in the display, so I can use this for recording my videos on YouTube. Otherwise, this feature is largely a gimmick for me. Maybe eventually I'll find a use for it, and it's certainly nice because when you're using the FaceTime feature, you're not using minutes on your contract. So this may be useful if you want to, talk to somebody who is in a Wi-Fi network and you want to save some minutes, particularly if you're talking overseas. The iPhone 4 also includes a noise cancellation microphone. In theory, this allows you to cancel background noise so that the call quality of the receiver sounds better. Unfortunately, I haven't really been able to test this, largely because I can't really hear what the other person is hearing. If I ask them how I sound, they say I sound normal. It may be more effective in a noisy environment, and maybe at some point I'll test it out just to see if it's working. Now, I feel I can't talk about the iPhone 4 without talking about its beautiful design. Now, it's one of the few smartphones that are entirely made of glass or metal. There is no plastic on this at all. So the act of holding and handling this phone is a far more tactile experience than holding a piece of plastic. The bezel is beautifully milled. We have a nice satin finish to the stainless steel on the side with this little chamfered edge, which adds a little more structural detail. We even have a little chrome ring around the headphone jack and around the camera on the back of the phone. And this edge-to-edge glass design gives a very seamless look to the iPhone. It's a very simple, clean, industrial look. The phone is also assembled to very high tolerances, so we can see virtually no gap around the SIM card tray and the buttons themselves. So the quality of the material is very nice. It adds to the precision. There's no globs of plastic or injection flashing or anything like that on the phone anywhere. It's almost like a piece of clockwork, like a wristwatch or a piece of jewelry. You don't often see this in consumer electronics. So that makes the iPhone 4 definitely a standout product, and I think it's one reason to consider the iPhone 4 above all other smartphones. In terms of overall performance, I don't notice a huge difference from the 3GS. The CPU has been upgraded to 1 GHz, the RAM has been doubled to 512 megabytes, and the wireless hardware has been upgraded to 802.11n. But overall, the performance jump from the 3GS to the iPhone 4 isn't that noticeable. Now, in order to take full advantage of the iPhone 4 hardware, you do need apps that require more RAM and processing power. Those are starting to appear now. So, for example, the iMovie app is only available for the iPhone 4, although it will work on the iPhone 3GS if it's jailbroken, but performance is not as good. And certainly stability is better on the iPhone 4. You've seen in one of my previous videos where launching many games at once caused the iPhone 3GS to crash. Overall, it's hard to say if the iPhone 4 is worth the upgrade from the 3GS. For me, it certainly is. The Retina display has made this phone far more useful to me. And for me, the high-quality 5-megapixel camera with the HD video recording is a huge value add. None of these would have been available to me unless I carried around another point-and-shoot or DSLR or a HD video camera like a Flip Minnow. So in many ways, this solves all of those problems. Once again, guys, this is Detroit Borg with my official review of the iPhone 4. Thanks for watching.